The superpower that every citizen has is the ability to control where they spend their time, money, and attention. By focusing these on supporting local businesses, you are having a profound impact on your friends, your family, and your local community. So if you want to change the world, you can start with buying local.
RASP Inc. is committed to forming strong customer partnerships and delivering comprehensive solutions for industrial control and system design needs. In a rapidly evolving tech landscape, staying current can be challenging, and maintaining the right staff and schedules for complex projects is often difficult. Companies choose RASP Inc. as their trusted partner to address these challenges. From implementation through after-project support, we are here when you need us most. We also offer all support services for any project, whether we designed your system or not. You can call RASP Controls for all of your support needs. RASP, Industrial Controls and Automation.
Welcome everyone to Buying Local. I'm your host, Mike Nelson. Joined today, and Miriam, so that we make sure that your last name gets pronounced correctly, because I butcher everyone's name. Could you just please tell us who you are and what you do?
Of course. My name is Miriam Weisfeld, and I am the producing artistic director of the Adirondack Theatre Festival.
The Adirondack Theatre. Every time I hear the Adirondack Theatre Festival, it just sounds so fun, right?
It
like,
is.
You know, like you throw a festival into it, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what that is, but I'm in already. So can you tell us a little bit about, for the maybe the 4 people in the greater Glens Falls area that don't know, can you tell us just a little bit about what the theater festival is and what you do?
Absolutely. So the Adirondack Theatre Festival is the only professional theater festival in the capital region dedicated to new musicals and plays. So essentially what that means is we are a research and development lab for the American theater. We start a lot of new plays and musicals on a path that then goes on to have a pretty tremendous life nationally and sometimes even internationally.
So that's very fun. I didn't realize. So do you actually... Are you writing and coming up with these, or is it, how does that work?
We do it all. Thanks to our 30th anniversary campaign, which has just launched this year, we are back to commissioning new work. So we will actually go out and hire writers and composers and lyricists to create work specifically for our audiences and our community and our space. We'll also do a tremendous amount of developmental work on shows that are that have started their developmental life, but they're looking for that first production or even that first concert presentation if it's a musical. And we've had really tremendous impact with that. This is just my 3rd season with ATF, and the last 2 years we've had huge success with this, what we call a concert presentation of a new musical. So last year we did a presentation of, this was the very first time that an audience anywhere in America heard the new musical Pump Up the Volume, which is based on the Christian Slater film, if you remember that movie from the 90s. It's about, it's so fun, right? It's about this high school kid who, he's like a shock jock on the radio, but it's like a secret identity. And so it's a musical that was based on that film. We did a developmental concert of that here at ATF. So Glens Falls audiences were the first ones to hear professional actors from, New York City and all over the country sing through that score, read the book scenes, share it with an audience for the very first time. The authors and the director, right, were in the audience with us for every performance, hearing how the audience responded and learning from it, rewriting, working like crazy on the material. It was a huge hit at ATF. And right after that, it got a what we call an industry presentation on Broadway. So Broadway producers and investors came to hear the same kind of presentation in New York City. And that show is now off on its way. And before that, the season before that, my first season, we did a concert presentation of a new musical called Mystic Pizza, which is based on the Julia Roberts movie. And we did the same thing. The creative team was there learning and rewriting as they were at ATF, and really got a lot of information from the way that the Glens Falls audiences responded to the show. They loved it. It was a huge hit. And right after ATF, that show then launched a California tour, and it has just announced a national tour. So again, ATF audiences were the very first ones to really contribute to the learning that the artists did to create a show that was ready to go off on a national life.
Yeah, that is very fun. And tell me or tell us, whoever's listening, that why is it called a festival? So, like it's like you hear it, it sounds fun, and I think I know, but maybe I don't know. So probably better that you explain why it's a festival.
Yeah, it's a crazy schedule. We tell all of our artists, who come up for this, it's a quick and dirty process where you're learning your lines really fast, rehearsing very quickly. Projects are overlapping, so that we've got, say, one project rehearsing upstairs while another one is teching in the theater downstairs, and then a reading is happening at an art gallery around the corner. So we mostly perform at the Charles R. Wood Theater in downtown Glens Falls, this beautiful space that we love to work at. But we also partner with LARAC, the Lower Adirondack Arts Council. We're doing a reading there this year. So we work with a lot of community partners to pack in as much activity as we can, because we just perform in the summer, right?
Yeah.
So it's this schedule of overlapping readings and concerts and full productions. And we've got some amazing artists who are from our region, who then work with artists who are coming in from New York City and Chicago and DC and LA and Philadelphia. I mean, they come from all over the place to work with some resident designers that we've got from the theater faculty at Skidmore College and Union College, and we've got interns from Middlebury College. I mean, it's been really amazing to kind of tap into this community of local talent and connect them every summer. And it's great that, we operate in the summer, right? Because then the college folks have that time off. So then we get to connect them with professionals, again, coming from all over the country. And it's this little burst of creativity that just lights up downtown Glens Falls every summer.
So, and how many shows do you have going on this season?
Right now, we've got 4 productions, 4 projects this season. So that's 2 full productions, 1 concert presentation, and then a developmental reading of a brand new commission.
And that'll happen all between, let's see, you open, what are your dates this year?
The first production previews on June 27th. So we basically go from June until mid-August. The last production closes on August 7th.
Wow. So really not a lot of time.
Really fast.
Yeah, really fast, right? Okay. So that festival thing makes a lot more sense to me now that when I think about it that way. So will you have actors and actresses that are in one production that are also in another? Like you said, there's some overlap. Like, will they be in multiple productions throughout the season?
Typically, where you see the overlap is in a couple places. Our designers. So again, the artists who teach in the theater departments at Skidmore and Middlebury will be designing every show. And then we've got something called performing apprentices. So we've got this very cool sort of education wing of what we do. We have interns who help out every department. And then we also have performing apprentices who are typically musical theater students, undergrads who go to maybe NYU or one of the SUNY schools, who usually have some roots in the community. Maybe they grew up here, their family is still here, they're home for the summer. They audition to take the smaller roles in our musicals and sometimes understudy the other shows. So they will often be with us throughout the summer too.
Gotcha. Wow, so fun. And this year's a big year for you.
It is.
Celebrating a big anniversary. Is it how many years? How many decades?
It's our 30th anniversary this year.
30th anniversary. And I think, so tell us a little bit about that, about how you're kind of celebrating that anniversary and some of the things that you have going on because of that.
It's a pretty extraordinary moment for ATF. Again, this is only my 3rd season with the company, so it's been a fantastic opportunity for me to learn about the history and the legacy of the company. ATF has done extraordinary things over the years. ATF has sent shows to Broadway, off Broadway, around the country and around the world. And one of the things that I find really moving about thinking about this company's legacy is that it's been sharing new plays and musicals, right? New stories and perspectives with this community for 30 years. So that means there's an entire generation that's grown up nourished by this work, by the new ideas and perspectives and experiences that would probably not be available to this region without something like ATF. And what's really beautiful is now we're seeing applicants for our internship program and our performing apprentice program who are those people who grew up coming to see those shows, and seeing the energy and the sophistication and just the light that they bring, to this town it's really extraordinary. They're embodying, the impact that this company has had for the local community. So that's really tremendous. So we're celebrating all of that. And at the same time, we're looking at a very different landscape of producing theater than existed pre-pandemic. I came in just at the tail end of the pandemic as all of the questions were up in the air, right? About, is theater going to come back? Our audience is going to come back. How are we going to navigate this new landscape? And the landscape is different for the professional performing arts in a way that it's not different from, not nearly as different as for a lot of other fields, I think. Just to give you one number that kind of encapsulates the whole thing for us.
Okay.
From 2019, right before the shutdown, to last year, ATF's housing costs rose 100%.
Wow.
What we have to do to be able to bring in all of those artists from New York and around the country, and give our local audiences access to that kind of talent and that kind of mentorship. We've seen that housing cost literally double since before the pandemic. In a way, that's a good thing for our community, right? Because it demonstrates the demand for short-term rentals. It demonstrates how many more people want to be spending their summers in our region. That's great. We love welcoming visitors, right? That's what that's our bread and butter, right? And at the same time, that means that our artists are now competing with folks who are coming from, downstate and around the country to be here in the summer. So, what we've recognized is that post-pandemic, there's always an economic challenge to making theater, right? But there's an economic challenge like never before. And we have really had to go back to our roots and think about what is most important about ATF surviving and continuing to serve our mission. And that means to us that we double down on investing in the art and the audience, making sure that we are able to, again, hire writers so that we're commissioning new work specifically for our artists, for our audience, making sure that we're feeding that pipeline of work that's going to continue to entertain and challenge and nourish this audience. And that we're making new investments in marketing to those audiences and welcoming more people, bringing in younger audiences, doing what we need to do to widen the circle of people who know and love ATF. So at our big 30th anniversary celebration back in February, we announced the Stories Start Here campaign. So that is a $500,000 campaign. We are setting out to raise $500,000 by the end of 2026 in order to reinvest in the art and in the audience and make sure that Adirondack Theatre Festival is here for the next generation of audiences and young people. And here's the great news. We are already over 70% of the way toward our goal. We're just in the first year. Yep.
That's
it
amazing.
has been really extraordinary to see the support behind this campaign because it tells us everything about how dedicated this community is to preserving a resource like Adirondack Theatre Festival.
Well, that's great too that, like you're saying, that the community is getting behind it. It's pretty good feedback, right? As far as how valuable you are to the community and how important you are to the community. So will you raise the bar if you hit your goal early, or?
Oh, don't say that. That just makes my job harder. No, it never ends. If you're a
Yeah,
nonprofit, the fundraising never ends. The challenges never end. And the relationships just get more important. The
yeah,
relationships with your subscribers and your donors, of course, and also your business partners. We've seen some tremendous sort of blossoming of our business partnerships this season, which is so important.
hmm,
What I always say, one of the things that I love about the Glens Falls region is that it is a community of small business people and entrepreneurs and innovators. And as a new play festival, we are in the business of artistic innovation.
yeah,
And we love finding colleagues who get it, who understand that part of the value of having something like ATF in the community is that it makes us a more creative,
hmm,
inventive, welcoming, and resilient community. We are more innovative when we're introducing new ideas and new ways of looking at things,
yeah,
every summer. And it's been really cool to figure out how to build innovative partnerships with our fellow, small businesses. I mean, one thing that folks might not be aware of that's very cool about what we're doing this year is one of our key business partners is the Adirondack Thunder. It's the hockey team.
oh, okay,
And the reason that we realized how great this partnership could be is that the hockey team's dynamite, right? It had an amazing season this
yeah,
past year. And as we're looking at, their season, we realize it's completely complementary to ATF season. The only downtime that they have is the summer,
right,
right? And we're dark in the winter. And every year, we've got to house all of these artists who come in from out of town.
yeah,
A couple of the apartments that we use for the artists are actually part of our office building. We've
okay,
got a really lovely building here in downtown Glens Falls, and we've got two apartments that our artists usually use in the summer.
oh, nice,
We realize they're empty in the winter. And so we now have a partnership with the Thunder to house some of the hockey players
oh,
in
nice,
our artist housing and sort of figure out how to create those symbiotic relationships with
absolutely,
businesses that are busier in our off season, and then have a little bit more downtime in their off season.
yeah,
Same thing with the Queensbury Hotel has become a really, really important partner of ours. Again, because artist housing is such an important part of what we do and such a major challenge as we come out of the pandemic.
hmm,
And they also have these phenomenal bars and restaurants, at that beautiful hotel. We love
yeah,
sending artists over to Fenimore's and Park 26, because that's what we do. You go see you do a show, and then you're riding on the high of performing and the audience's response. You don't want to go to bed. You want to go out. You want to go have a drink
great,
and talk about, what you learned from that audience and how it's going to inform, the next draft of the piece. And that
yeah,
means you need a bar, you need a good restaurant that's open late, that you can hang out at afterwards. So
absolutely,
those sort of complementary and symbiotic, opportunities to fold what the artists, are doing here into the life of the town has just been phenomenal.
yeah, yeah, and what a great energy Glens Falls has right now, and really has had for quite some time. To be fair, I mean, it's just the downtown area is just always so hustling and bustling, and so many things happening, and uh,
Yeah. And we
yeah,
love hearing from the restaurants, in the area, how much more lively they are when we have a show. We love,
absolutely,
I've been doing this series called Subscriber Spotlights, where we reach out to somebody who subscribes to Adirondack Theatre Festival season. And we say, let's do a little interview and talk about what your theater going ritual is. Do you go with the same people every time? Do you go out to dinner beforehand? Do you go out to drinks afterwards? And time after time, our subscribers tell us we always go to dinner downtown before the show, or we always go get cocktails after the show, because a huge part of the ritual of theater going, right, is the
mhm,
conversation that surrounds it, is the experience that you share with your seating partners, with the people that you go to the theater with.
yeah,
Because what that does is it enriches our relationships, right? Whether you go with your spouse or your partner or a group of girlfriends or, grandchildren. I mean, those are experiences that move your relationship forward because you're sharing something that neither one of you has ever done before. You're grappling with new ideas and new stimuli that neither of you has had before. And so you want to talk about it. You want to sort of make meaning of that experience together. And those moments of anticipating the show and then unpacking the show together,
Mhm.
time and time again, audience members tell us those are the things that really enrich my life. And that's what I can't get anyplace else but in the theater.
So fun. It really is the best way to do it too, though, right? Like dinner, go to the show, go have some drinks, recap the story, and all the excitement.
Absolutely. You got to do it over
Talk
food, got
about
to
it.
do it over drinks. And then that's
Yeah,
great for our restaurants too.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I won't put you on the spot and ask you who your favorite restaurant or bar is before or after the shows, but um, what one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking was, do you have like if someone wants to go to everything, right? Like, so they want to go to your two big productions, they want to go to other stuff. Like, do you kind of sell it that way, or how does it work for tickets and things like that?
We actually have a page on our website now that says plan your visit.
Okay.
And all of our restaurant partners are featured on there. The Queensbury Hotel is featured on there. It's interesting because we've got such an eclectic mix of audiences. We've got the true blue loyal subscribers who live in Glens Falls or Queensbury, or sometimes as far away as Schenectady, who come every year to every show, who've got their favorite places. And then we've got quite a few subscribers and single ticket buyers who are summer residents around Lake George, who come every year because they know that they want to spend a few evenings of their summer in the nice, cool air conditioning, getting, top shelf entertainment that they're used to getting in New York City or, Boston or wherever they're coming from. And then we've got some industry guests as well. So we often work with partners in the commercial producing world, from the Broadway world, agents and managers coming up from New York City. And they very often say, okay, so I know I want to make a weekend of it. I haven't been to Glens Falls before. What should I do? And so we've got information on our website about, how to take the train up from the city, or how to drive down from Lake George or up from Saratoga. And then we always recommend you got to stay at the Queensbury because it's within walking distance. And there's these fantastic restaurants. Here are all of the other restaurant options that we recommend,
Yeah.
and other activities. We're right down the street from the Hyde Collection. We even house some of our artists right across the street. It's, we always encourage not just our paying guests, but also our artists who are working with us. Take advantage of being in Glens Falls because you're so close to so many resources, whether, museums are your thing, or swimming at the beach, or going to the track on your day off. It's all right at your fingertips. And
Or
so we
going
really
hiking,
want to
or
make sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much, right, that you can do around here. It's
Right, especially in the summer. And so what we love to see is both patrons and artists having a phenomenal time here and then going back to wherever they spend the winter and saying, I had the most magical summer in Glens Falls.
yeah, it's fun. What I know you said before about that, you're really looking to kind of expand your audience as far as the people that don't know who you are, or haven't really come to shows in the last few years, and you want to get them there. Do you know who those people are, just from like a demographic standpoint? Is it the younger people, older people, mix?
Everybody is welcome at ATF. We find that the really passionate theater fans tend to be younger folks. Theater audiences tend to skew female. So very often women are the ones who, if not fill most of the seats, are the ones who tend to pick up the phone or go on the website and actually purchase the tickets. They may drag a spouse along with them, and whoever that is always ends up having a great time too.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
data does tell us that it's usually women who are actually making the purchasing decisions there. Yeah, we love to cultivate again a real mix of locals and visitors, because again, that's how we we ensure that we're truly enriching the community that we're in. And we're also keeping visitors, right, wanting to come back, keeping them stimulated, keeping them surprised every year, because that's what you get when you come to ATF. You see something very, very different every time you walk in the door.
So the first show
Mhm.
opens in a little over a week, 10 days,
Yeah, about a week and a half.
or a week and a half. So tell us about this first show, or what you can tell us about this first show. No spoilers.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a great example of the outsized impact that ATF has on the national field. So back in 2010, way before my time at ATF, there was a show here called Murder for Two. And that was this musical comedy for two performers in which one actor plays the inspector investigating a murder, and the other actor plays 13 suspects. And the guy who, right, it makes you laugh just talking about the concept.
Yeah, that's insane. I can't even imagine how great that actor or actress must have been that did that character.
So that actor who played the 13 suspects, he's this hugely talented artist named Joe Kanosian. He's also the composer. And
Okay.
so he created the music with his creative partner, Kellen Blair, who is the lyricist. And they created this show. It started at ATF. Their very first production was here in Glens Falls. It then became a runaway hit that toured the country and played
Wow.
off Broadway. It was actually just in Shanghai. It's continued to
Wow,
have this,
that's great.
this international life, this hugely successful life. And when these guys wrote their latest show, they reached out to me and they said, can we start it at ATF? We love starting our shows in Glens Falls. And of course I said yes. So this new show takes it to, another level. This is a one-person show.
Oh, wow.
That Joe Kanosian performs, I think probably more than 13 characters in this one. And the concept is, it just makes me laugh every time I try to describe it. So in the play, Todd versus the Titanic, there is a large cast musical about the sinking of the Titanic that is in rehearsal in a theater in Schenectady. And right before they open, there is an apocalyptic event outside the theater that wipes out every single member of the cast except for Todd, the guy with the smallest role. He's alone. He's terrified. He doesn't know if there's anybody else left on Earth. So in order to keep himself sane and give himself a reason to keep going, he attempts to perform the entire large cast musical about the sinking of the Titanic by himself.
Okay.
It's unbelievably funny. There are all these bits with you realize that there's this massive show right in the wings waiting to be done. And he does things like, he's acting out the moment when the ship is about to hit the iceberg and he tries to pull on the iceberg, right? Because they had built that for the show. But there was supposed to be this whole crew backstage to move it on. So he can only get it on 6 inches, So you see the first 6 inches of the iceberg and oh my God, we hit it. It's so funny. And at the same time, it's this beautiful reminder of the power of art to sustain us in the darkest times. So ultimately, it's very moving too.
It sounds so fun. And the level of creativity that one would have to have in order to not only be the actor or actress in it, but to write it, to come up with the idea. It's really funny.
It's pretty brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So amazing. And you said that opens on the 22nd?
That one starts on June 27th.
We're having a real tough time with dates right now, Miriam. I don't know why. I'm in summer mode already.
So June 27th, that one starts. Todd versus the Titanic runs through July 3rd. And actually, I'll give your listeners a really hot tip.
Yes,
if you happen to be in town over Independence Day, we are running this spectacular Independence Day sale. So for just July 2nd and 3rd, we've got performances at 2 p.m. and 7:30. There is a discount code to get $10 tickets for those performances. Oh, nice. Yeah, you want to go on our website, which is atfestival.org, and put in the code Independence24 for $10 tickets. Again, that's July 2nd and 3rd to see Todd versus the Titanic.
Todd versus the Titanic. What a great title. How many showings of that will he do?
I think in total there's about 8 performances of that one.
Wow.
And you know what's really cool? We're doing 8 in Glens Falls, and then as soon as that show closes on July 3rd, we're going to pack it up in a truck and it's going to transfer to the Hangar Theater in Ithaca.
Oh,
So
no.
again, that's a great example of how audiences in Glens Falls can see something very, very beginning of its life, because we know that that show is going to go on to have a big life.
Yeah, and then it'll go on to
Yeah.
basically tour around, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Is that like if it's a hit, then it keeps going kind of thing?
Well, we already know that this one's going to be a hit. We know
Yeah,
that these guys have so many fans, you know, all the way in China, all over the world. So we know that that show's already on its way.
so fun. And what about the other one? The second production?
Yeah. Okay. So right after that, we've got a developmental reading of one of our new commissions. So the very first play that's going to be supported by the Story Start Here campaign.
Yeah.
This is called Worth, an Intimate Exhibition. And this is a one-woman show that's created by an actress who might be familiar if you ever watched the Netflix show Ozark.
Oh,
She
yeah.
played, yeah. So Jessica Francis Dukes played Agent Maya Miller on Ozark. She's an Obie winner and a SAG Award nominee. She's a spectacularly talented performer. This is her first time writing a piece, and it's fascinating. It's really about her life as a performer and her relationship with the audience, and the way that it changed when she went from being a stage performer to an on-screen celebrity, you
Mm.
know, and also realizing that she got her first big break in television on Ozark right at the beginning of the pandemic. So she had this fascinating experience of going from being a theater animal who's always aware of the audience. When you're performing for a live audience, you know exactly what they're giving back to you, to
Yeah.
performing on camera, which is very strange because there's no audience, right? You've got to sort of imagine that for yourself. So she goes through this transition to become a screen actress, and then realizes that Ozark has become this huge binge hit during the pandemic. And she's got all of these fans all over the world now, when she feels like she's just sort of been performing in a vacuum. And then she was in one of the first shows to reopen Broadway after the pandemic. She was in
Oh,
this
wow.
amazing play called Trouble in Mind. So she goes back into the theater and everybody's distanced and masked, and she sort of has to rebuild and relearn that relationship to the audience. So again, this is just a very early developmental reading of a brand new piece that we are commissioning. So audiences are going to get an incredibly intimate look at this. It's going to be done in at the Larac Lapham Gallery.
Oh,
So
very good.
it's just an audience of about 30 people. The reason that Jessica and I wanted to do that there is that the audience is really her scene partner in this play. So this is a great example of how the audience is our partner as we develop new work at ATF. So that's going on from July 12th to 14th.
Okay.
Then we roll right into a concert presentation of one of these big Broadway aimed musicals. So remember, I talked about Pump Up the Volume and Mystic Pizza
Yeah.
before. That is in this tradition. So this is a concert. So, the actors are going to be at music stands with their scores. They just got a few days to rehearse this material. But these are some spectacular performances that folks can expect. So this is a new Broadway aimed musical called The King's Wife. It's got a pop score by a Grammy nominated singer, songwriter from Nashville named Jamie Floyd. And it is about the first wives of Henry VIII. Now, if you remember your history, right, he was originally married to Catherine of Aragon, and then
Okay.
Anne Boleyn, the one who was beheaded, right? We imagine these women as rivals. There are some historical clues that also indicate that they were sort of co-conspirators,
Oh.
laying the groundwork for the first female ruler of England, who of course was Elizabeth I.
Hmm.
It's easy to forget she was Anne Boleyn's daughter. There was a lot that these women were cooking up behind the scenes to make all of this possible. So it's this kind of historical epic that's just moving and beautiful and fascinating. And it's got this very contemporary, very cool pop score.
Very fun.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah. And
And
then
so what?
after that, we are going to close the season with another full production. And this is a stage adaptation of Dial M for Murder, if you remember the Hitchcock film.
I do, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that great thriller about a woman in London who's having an affair. Her husband finds out and he puts a plot in place to murder her. Now, it's really interesting because this is a new adaptation by a playwright named Jeffrey Hatcher. And it's so fascinating what Jeffrey has done with this classic story, because if you remember the Hitchcock film, it stars Grace Kelly, right, in this glamorous role of the woman who is supposed to be murdered. But in the movie, she's sort of a doormat. She just is not, she doesn't have a lot going on. She doesn't have a lot of agency. She's kind of pushed around by the men in the film. In Jeffrey's new adaptation, she has a lot more agency. The roles of women in this version are much more complex. They've got a lot more going on between their ears. And that's what gives this, this new version of the story a really contemporary bite. Really, really interesting. And at the same time, it's this delicious period piece. You still got all of the 1950s costumes and all the smoking the fake cigarettes and everything, and the blood effects and the, all the stage violence. It's a very, very cool pot boiler, in the classic sense. But it's still got a real contemporary edge to it because it's ATF.
Yeah. So cool. So fun. So if people are looking to learn more about, they want to buy tickets, they want to, just kind of see what ATF is all about, where do they find you guys and girls?
You want to hop on our website, atfestival.org, and you can always go visit our friends at the Wood Theater box office. Again, Adirondack Theatre Festival performs at the Charles R. Wood Theater, and our friends over at the Wood are open usually from 12 to 5. And they are at 518-480-4878 if you want to give them a call.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks so much for coming on, taking a little time out of your obviously very, very busy, crazy schedule.
It's always a 3-ring circus around here, but it's such a pleasure to spend some time with you.
Yeah, appreciate it so much. And I can't wait to go to the shows, see what's good.
Yeah, we'll see you at the theater.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Miriam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
The Eden Center is a private psychiatry practice that focuses on the root cause of mental health conditions. We believe in brain-based treatment that incorporates the tenets of good mental health: nutrition, sleep, mindfulness, exercise, and social interactions. Whether you need help with mental health, addiction and recovery, or general wellness, the Eden Care Center can help shape you into your best you.
The superpower that every citizen has is the ability to control where they spend their time, money, and attention. By focusing these on supporting local businesses, you are having a profound impact on your friends, your family, and your local community. So if you want to change the world, you can start with buying local.